Hello, this is Scarlet and Rage podcast, an Ohio State podcast with an avid and active Michigan element. And so, maybe the most unique and interesting Ohio State podcast out there right now. I'm not saying we are, I'm just saying it's possible. Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later, Jay, but it's good to be back. We've had a little bit of a hiatus. I've kind of had the off-season blues a little bit. It's just kind of been that off-season lull, and I've just kind of been looking at things. And it's been a wonderful off-season, but there's also some areas that I was waiting to pop, and just nothing kind of happened to pop. We're going to discuss that today, and we're going to discuss some of the good things that are going on. But before we get into our topics today, Jay, aka Rage, how are you doing today?
Michael, I feel like, obviously we're filming this on Sunday night. It's coming out Monday morning in the weekend. What weekend, man? It was gone in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
What the F, man? So much going on right now. Yes, everybody, we're sorry we were gone for so long. I know how much you missed us. Sarcastic comment there, especially some of the Ohio State fans commenting how much they hate our takes and everything. But hey, you know what? We're going to continue saying what we're going to say. Michael, I was going to mention to you before the podcast that I think I might have been a plumber in another life, man. I basically had to replace our entire toilet.
Man.
Yeah.
You're better than me. I never would have replacing the toilet or fixing the sink or anything like that. Like, I can't do it.
Yeah, man. Again, obviously I lived in a townhome before this, and I did some things there. But man, I didn't replace the entire toilet, but basically the entire flush system and handle. Yeah, man, I did all of it. So about done. I basically just need to refill it. It's pretty much done, man. Crazy. The magic of YouTube. Let me put it that way. The magic of YouTube definitely helps, and I have a bevy of tools to use. But proud of myself for that one. Michael, how the hell have you been, man? What is new in Cincinnati, Ohio?
Well, I've just been busy. It's been so much to do, so much I could talk about, but that's not really why anybody. I don't think anybody is. Maybe they're not interested in anything we have to say, but they're certainly probably not interested about all the busyness of my last week or two. But it's been very busy, Jay, and glad to be back doing this. Maybe it's therapeutic for me to do this after all of the work and the hustle and the bustle that I've had the last couple of weeks. So looking forward to getting into the topics tonight. And are you ready to get moving into topic number one? Or do you have anything else you want to add?
I don't think I have anything else I want to add. Let's do it, bro.
All right, we're going to talk about the massive addition of the defensive back from Alabama. But not just any defensive back from Alabama, a young defensive back from Alabama. Some of you might say, yeah, so what? A young defensive back from Alabama. Well, a freshman, going to be sophomore this year, a kid who already played in the SEC as a true freshman and was extremely successful. That is who they have added to this defensive back field. And Jim Knowles has all the tools at his disposal on this defense. Let's see if he can be next year what Jesse Minter was to Michigan this past year, because all the ingredients are there for Jim Knowles to succeed at an extremely high level.
For sure, Michael. And I know you're mentioning Caleb Downs there.
Yes.
But the commitment today they got is Naeem Offord. He is the number one corner in the country for 2025 in the 247 composite.
Oh, understood. Okay. When you told me about I did, I saw that he had committed, but I wasn't even thinking him because with the way recruiting goes now, I don't even start paying serious attention.
No, and I was actually going to get into that. But yes, this is a top 6 or 7 player in the country in the 247 composite from the state of Alabama.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, wow. They now have the 2 top ranked corners in the country from 247. They have Devin Sanchez from North Shore and Naeem Alford from the state of Alabama. Now, I don't know much about Naeem Alford's high school, but I can tell you this, and he does not play in Alabama's best, like the highest level of football in the state of Alabama. He plays at Parker High School, which is like,
what division is he?
The second biggest, not the biggest and best. Like, I think it's like Division 7 in Alabama, or I don't know who's the biggest and best. That's where you're going to have Hoover and Thompson, like the two like historically best teams. Like they don't play those teams. Right. They're in the division lower than them. Yes, they're in the division lower than them.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's still a lot of good football in that, but
there is a lot of talent in Alabama. I don't know how good their teams are, because I can tell you this. I did see Thompson play back in 2022 to start this season against Buford at Milton High School. And Thompson ended up winning the Alabama State Championship that season, and they lost 38-7 to Buford. Now, granted, it was essentially a Buford home game, but it's not like Thompson has a super long drive. It's like a 5-hour. It was like a 5 or 6 hour drive for them at most. So not super far, but not close either. Yeah. They got skull drug, and Buford didn't even win Georgia's state championship that season. So, I mean, were they a top 3 or 4 team in Georgia? Absolutely. But what I'm trying to say is Alabama football is not that good. So I actually find it very surprising that this guy is the number 1 corner in the country. Granted, he is from Alabama, but I don't know. Maybe he's just performed well on the summer circuit.
Well, hey, to me, here's my take on it. Mm-hmm. To me, whether this kid hits or whether this kid doesn't hit, if you get this kid actually to follow through and get into this class, let's say, maybe he's a mediocre player, ends up being a 4th or 5th round draft pick. Or let's say he's really hits and ends up being a 1st or 2nd round draft pick. Either way, we got a kid on defense to commit to Ohio State from the state of Alabama, one of the most highly rated kids in the country. And this wasn't happening before Nick Saban retired. There is a vacuum, and Ohio State has an opportunity to begin to fill that vacuum if they will be aggressive. The time to strike for Ohio State is now.
I agree. And a part of me makes me wonder is, did we get this guy because Nick Saban left, or did we get it because Ohio State's NIL is starting to get going?
I mean, maybe a combination of both, I think. But
yeah, I don't know. But I will tell you this, though, too. I don't really like that he committed so early. I mean, we're in February of 24. We have basically another year until the late signing day. I know early signing day is in December, but I mean, players like this in the Deep South, especially from a state that Ohio State hasn't gotten a recruit from since the 80s. And I know Quinshon Judkins is from Alabama, but he's a transfer, so it's a little different there. And he's from Ole Miss, and he played at Ole Miss. But I really would. I understand his whole family went on the visit to Ohio State this past weekend, and then he committed. But I really do look at this as like Ohio State's in their top 3, and they have a chance to sign him.
Yeah.
But this is still going to be a battle all the way to signing day.
This is one of those that the negotiations will be going right up until the end. Can Ohio State, make a satisfactory deal? And it's going to be right up to the end. Possibly, high drama, just like Jeremiah Smith this year. And as long as you can bring him in and get him to get in the mold and get going, fine. I don't care how you get him in there, but we'll see. Ryan Day has the horses. Do we have the conductor who can lead this chariot? And has he assembled a staff that is able to maximize the
Right.
efficiency and the talent that Ohio State's going to have on the field next year.
Well, we have the horses at the secondary and receivers, but we're like whiffing on offensive line and defensive line. Let's make that very clear.
Yeah.
The positions that we need the most, we're still not performing well at.
Right.
We're killing it at DB. We're killing it at receiver, but you're just fielding an elite 7-on-7 team at that point.
Yeah. Well, and that was what I had a discussion with some fans this weekend over at a kind of a social, and it was a very nice time. And there's some Ohio State fans, and there's some Michigan fans, and I expressed my views, and lo and behold, the Ohio State fans, for the most part, did not really share my view on the matter. But the Michigan fan says to me, dude, you're the coolest Ohio State fan I've ever met. And I was just like, I'm not saying anything besides what's true. When I say Michigan out physical us last year, my Ohio State brethren can't stomach that. They can't stomach to admit that. They have to defer to it was cheating or Harbaugh's a cheater or this, that, or the other. We just can't admit that. And so I think for some reason, from a Michigan fan standpoint, when there's an Ohio State fan that will just admit it, just state the obvious, that what everyone saw, that it's surprising. It's surprising to people, Jay, some of our takes, because they're not common Ohio State takes, but I think they're takes that are very rooted in critical thought and logic.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what this podcast is about, man. Again, we remove emotion out of the equation. We're Michael and I, we're not hyper emotional people. We usually try and take a step back and analyze things at a more logical level. Some people like it. Most people don't like it because it is what it is. People like live in the moment a little too much and go off rash emotion rather than
everything's got to be emotional, about
it.
Man.
That's the media.
I get it. I went through a period, Jay, where I was an SEC denier. I went through a period, Jay, where I could not admit my blind hatred for the SEC could not enable me to admit that they had become the much better conference. I went through that period. And so I understand that block that people can have. But at this stage in my sports journey in fandom, I choose to just, whether it's the team that I love or not, I choose to try to look at things relatively objectively, because if my team stinks, and it's obvious they stink, I don't want to give some big emotional investment to that team, because being a fan means that you follow something, and it actually obviously derives from fanatic. So like you can only be fanatical about so many things in your life, especially as you get older. And so I don't want to put in the time or energy, if my team is clearly showing that they're not a championship caliber team. And so that's kind of the way that I approach it. Doesn't mean I don't have fun with the team. It just means I am at the point as an Ohio State fan that I am looking for them to break through and win another national championship. And I won't say that that's the only thing that will make me happy, but it's pretty close to that.
Yeah. Greatly stated, Michael. So we're here today to go over the Ohio State coaching staff, what we've obtained so far since the offseason, what we've lost so far in the offseason, and really the biggest name, Michael, that Ohio State has gotten so far, and we don't know what's going on here, was Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien was a home run hire if he sticks. He would keep Ryan Day in line. Huh?
Oh, he's got to stay.
Oh, man. Well, he would keep Ryan Day in line and actually run the offense. I'm just hopeful he can play an offense, call an offensive game in the biggest games, which we all know Ryan Day cannot. Ryan Day would have to completely give up the playbook. Now, Bill O'Brien wouldn't be running his offense. He would be running Ryan Day's offense.
Right.
So that's the gist here, man. That's exactly what we would be getting with Bill O'Brien. We'd be getting a guy who would just lead the offense and then leave Ryan Day to be the fundraiser, the recruiter, the figurehead.
This is essential. Why is this essential? Because have you not seen Ryan Day offenses more and more start to just kind of tie themselves in knots and get bogged down and call the same strange play calls that haven't worked the previous 3 or 4 times you've called them? Very ambiguous play calls on third down, like things to the wide, things way out wide, on third and short, and just some play calling that is puzzling at times. And it's clear to me that Ryan Day is at the point that it's become too much for him to be the head football coach at Ohio State, which he now really has to be. He has to be the head coach at this point. His years of kind of drifting off of Urban's infrastructure, that's, he's got to be his own man at this point. And so the question is, does he have what it takes to get it done? And a big part of that is, what kind of coaching staff did you put together? And as you said, I think Bill O'Brien is a great hire, and he's a must-have. We have to keep him. If he goes to Boston College, let's not even talk like that. Les Wexner or somebody needs to step up and give the man another $1 million or dollars or whatever it takes to keep him, because we need to keep Bill O'Brien here. So I don't even know how serious the talks to Boston College are, but we can get into that in a minute.
I think we should get into it right now, man.
Well, let's get into it right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're on the subject of Bill O'Brien. Let me just start off. Again, we don't know what's going on here. We do know that his name has popped up amongst the Boston College circles, and the only people who really believe he's going to Boston College as of now are the Boston College message boards on 247 Sports. They have yet to confirm anything. Pete Thamel hasn't confirmed anything, but I have no doubt that they're talking. And I want to make something very clear here. Some people are trying to rip on Bill O'Brien and saying, like, this would be a dick move for him to leave, and he's a trashy person if he leaves and everything. And I'm like, why? Why does that make him a bad person? Bill O'Brien does not owe Ohio State a damn thing. We all know that he might go to Boston College, but he's from the New England, Boston area. And apparently he has a son who has some kind of illness, and he's being treated in the Boston area. I don't know what the son has, but it's something pretty serious. And if he has to stay home to help take care of his son, he should do that. That comes first before anything in football.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I mean, if that is the issue, that would be a scenario that I could understand why he would do something like that. I hope that's not the case. I hope that it just doesn't. I hope it doesn't work out for Ohio State's sake. But yeah,
I don't know.
It's a guy we need to keep. It'll be a major offseason bummer if we lose Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, Ryan Day's probably on his hands and knees begging him to stay because how much of a failure he's been at Ohio State. Honestly. I mean, like, he brought in Bill O'Brien to run the offense and, guide the ship, because we all know Ryan Day can't do it. He cannot do it. I don't care what anyone says. We've said ad nauseum he's not a good head coach. Maybe
who else could you get? Cliff
I don't know. We're gonna have to. I have no idea. I haven't looked at a list yet. I don't know. He'd have to get. I will say this. It would hurt. I agree. It would absolutely hurt to lose Bill O'Brien. Mm-hmm. But Ryan Day's paid a lot of money to handle crisis events like a true pro, and he better get somebody in here that is a true pro and can call an offense in the biggest moments.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Day has not done very well at luring big-time assistants in at Ohio State. He has not. He's done actually a pretty miserable job outside of the Bill O'Brien hire. And I'm still not sold on Jim Knowles.
He needs this to be a splash hire, and staying on the positive side of it, assuming he sticks there. I think that this is exactly that. I do think it's just a hire that makes an impact. I think it's a guy that he brings something to the program that I think this program needs right now. And he's one of those guys that a lot of people don't like him because he's kind of gruff and he's just kind of like doesn't really care, just kind of, very, very Northeastern New England, just kind of say what he thinks and not doesn't give a, doesn't matter what you. And so he rubs people the wrong way. But I think this program needs somebody like that. I think this program needs somebody that's a little meaner, that's going to push him a little more, that's going to challenge him a little more. I think what he will bring after working under Bill Belichick and Nick Saban will be something that very few people could bring to the program and something that the program needs. That's my opinion. That's how highly I think of this hire.
Yeah, no, I said it, home run hire when they got him. Not much else can be said. You're right. He has an NFL background. He has a college background. He's been with Nick Saban. He's been with Bill Belichick. The guy's been a head coach in the NFL. He's exactly who Ohio State would need, and it would really suck to lose him. But I understand it if he leaves. Again, like I said, he doesn't know Ohio State anything. He's honestly just doing Ohio State a favor at this point. Really, Ohio State.
What if Ryan Day was like, Don't go. Here. We can switch. You can be the head coach, and I'll be the
I wouldn't be okay with Ryan Day calling the fucking game plan, man. Fuck that. Fuck Ryan Day calling games.
If that's all he had to do, maybe he'd get good at it again.
Yeah, man. So moving on, we hired your boy Matt Guerrieri, and I know you have some thoughts about that.
Well, it's not even really that I have so many thoughts. It's just kind of the lack thereof. It's like, we fire Eliano, who has not been a recruiting mastermind, but he's
actually really sucked at recruiting.
Yeah. There has been some success, in his room, in his time there. So, I mean, there is an argument that he has he's a good developmental coach. Maybe that's not the case. I don't know. But be that as it may, they got rid of him. And so they bring in somebody, I'm thinking they're going to get somebody who's a proven big-time recruiter or something. But no, they get Matt Guerrieri, who has coached at Duke and Indiana. And so we have no idea how this guy's going to recruit. So if you fired the last guy because of recruiting, which is what Ryan Day said, how do you go hire a guy that we don't really know if he can recruit elite safeties? I just don't get. I don't get it.
I don't know. Kind of an hire, right? Mm-hmm. I would say that. I
mean, it's wait and see.
Right, and at the time I was really pissed off. I'm like, what in the fuck are we doing? Like, what the fuck are you doing, Ryan Day? You're on the hottest of hot seats. You failed as a freaking Ohio State coach so far. And this is your hire for our safeties coach? Now, since he's been here, he did help get Caleb Downs. And in recruiting, his name does pop up more in kids' recruitments. Like, his name is coming out of their mouths more so than Eliano ever has, which is good. So he is at least making inroads here. But at the same time, he still doesn't have the coaching pedigree you would want for a coach at Ohio State. He's coached at Duke and Indiana, where the defenses sucked.
He was the co-DC last year, Jay. I think it was the 104th best defense in the nation.
And it's like, what the hell, man? Go hire Tom Allen to coach our safeties.
Yeah.
That would have been a great get. Go get him.
Yeah.
Again, it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know what we're doing. Could Tom Allen even have a job, or is he just fired, just kind of wandering around in purgatory?
I don't think he has a job anywhere.
I would have hired him. I mean, he's got connections to the South. I mean, he's an older guy, but at the same time, he has coached good defenses in Indiana before. But he's the head coach, so maybe he was more hands off. I don't know. I do know that Tom Allen likes to blitz a lot, which I'm okay with. Jim Knowles doesn't blitz enough for my taste. I continue to I am still befuddled by why does Jim Knowles have this like why is he known as an aggressive DC
He's
when I see a couple
he's
blitzes?
at Penn State now, Jay.
Is he their DC?
Yeah, they hired him as the DC.
That was a great hire by Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great hire by Penn State. So anywho, so we fired Perry Eliano. We also fired Parker Fleming. That they both needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Both needed to be done because both were trash coaches, either at recruiting or on the field. Demoted Corey Dennis, borderline nepotism hire there because of Urban Meyer. The guy never coached a day in his life prior to Ohio State. Here he is as our quarterbacks coach. Why?
Yeah, well, I mean, we know why. I mean, Ryan Day was handed this job on a silver platter because Urban Meyer had a sense of loyalty and wanted his staff, as many of them as possible, because we're not just talking the football staff. We're talking about the recruiting staff, the Pantonis and his departments, and the Mickey Mariottis and the strength departments. All those are Urban's guys that he's brought to Ohio State. And so he doesn't want those guys to get fired by a new incoming administration because he has a sense of loyalty to them. So what does he do? He tells Gene Smith that for the sake of continuity in the program, Urban meaning everything that I put in place stays. He said for the sake of continuity of the program, we need Ryan Day to be the head coach. And Gene Smith, I guess, and the board of trustees thought that was a good idea, and that's what they did. And so, we're going to be going into year 6 next year with Ryan Day?
Yeah, year 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. Just
I talked with somebody this weekend that they were very high on Ryan Day to the point that they told me, and this is
a Michigan fan.
No, this is an Ohio State fan, and this is his honest belief because me and the Michigan fan are kind of on the same wavelength. And I'm like, I don't really know that Ryan Day is that good of a coach. I'm still not sold on it. And this other Ohio State fan said that he is a good coach, and he's not John Cooper 2.0, and he is the type of coach that will have a statue outside of Ohio Stadium by the time it's all said and done. And I was like, well, that's a big statement, based on what I've seen.
Is this guy on drugs?
Well, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
he's definitely optimistic. He's definitely bullish on the Day administration.
What the fuck is hell? Okay.
Yeah.
I want to have what he's smoking, man. I feel a little better. Mellow out.
I think he was drinking bourbon. I don't know if that helps.
Maybe. I mean, does that really fuck your mind up like that? How many did he have?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Michael, man, we got off track, man. We got off track.
All right.
Oh, boy.
Let's reel it back in.
Let's reel it back in, man. So, the biggest bad news, really, and again, I'm not even talking about Bill O'Brien. We failed to land Jason Taylor. There were rumors out there. We were going hard after Jason Taylor. Would have been a grand slam hire. But, since Miami is his alma mater.
Yeah.
And his wife has a solid job apparently in the Miami area, Ohio State couldn't entice him to leave.
Okay. All that's fine. Here's my question is, why didn't we investigate that beforehand? Why did we spend all of our time to get a defensive line coach fooling around with a guy that was never going to come here?
I think he definitely considered it, but we just couldn't get him. I think he probably did have a conversation with his family. And by the way, I was fucking with everyone. Miami's not his alma mater. Akron is his alma mater. But there was like some kind of internet joke going around that Miami was his alma mater. I guess because he played for the Dolphins, people got it confused. But he's from Pittsburgh. I actually knew his cousin.
Doesn't he have some kind of connection of a family member coming to play at Miami, though?
I have no idea.
I have read that. I don't know if that's true.
Oh, no. His son actually transferred from Arizona State to Miami.
Oh, yes. That's it. Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah. So once that happened, we knew he was not going to Ohio State.
but we didn't have any plan B. Like it was like we go all in on this guy.
No.
There's not even any. We don't have a short list of like 3 that if this one doesn't work, we can.
I guess they wanted to maybe try that Randall Joyner at Ole Miss, but he's a full again like Jason Taylor's one thing because the guy's already a millionaire, and it's just like he's kind of doing this for fun kind of thing. Where Randall Joyner is still trying to make a name for himself, and why is he going to go sit behind Larry Johnson for who knows how long? Like he's doing his thing at Ole Miss, like. He's like, Ohio State, if you want me, you need to get rid of Larry Johnson and I'll come aboard. And they're not going to do that. So more, props to Randall Joyner.
That's a big failure of this offseason is the Larry Johnson age problem wasn't addressed.
Yeah.
And it's a problem. So don't act like it's not a problem because if we know anything, we know you cannot win a national championship without very good defensive line play, and especially the defensive tackles. You have to have that to win a national championship. And our recruiting in that area struggled last class, and it's very likely it's going to continue to struggle because we still have the dilemma of these kids coming in who are like, I really like LJ. Let me tell you something. LJ can still recruit. I really believe that. I think he can still recruit. If you could have just turned back the clock on LJ 7, 8, 9, 10 years so that that number was different, I think LJ would still be getting kids like crazy. But he's got a lot of negative recruiting against him, and it gets in these kids' minds from the other recruiters. He's not going to be there for you. You're going to go there, and he's going to be gone after a year or 2 years. We're going to be here your whole time. You don't have to worry about that with us. And so that's a powerful persuasion that's being used against Ohio State right now. And in order to solve that, we needed to bring in a strong assistant defensive line coach who is going to be taken over so that everybody gets to feel comfortable and the transition's very smooth. And we didn't do that. We didn't get that done. And so we're going to probably encounter some trouble another year on the defensive line recruiting because this situation has not been resolved.
So they needed a cast a wider net, is what you're saying. Wider
net.
Yep.
You have to have a short list. Even if that short list is 1, 2, you have to have 2. I mean, you can't just have one option. And if that doesn't, we've got this massive need, and we're only going to go after one person. And if that doesn't work, then we're just not going to address the need at all. You got to have a few people that you could. I mean, Ohio State's paying exorbitant rates of pay now for coaches. You're telling me you can't find a quality guy to make $850 or $1,000 to $1 million to be LJ's assistant? Yeah, I think.
I don't know, but yeah, you're right. We're stuck in a recruiting disadvantage because of this. Not only because he's old, Larry Johnson. I'm meaning Larry Johnson, but the defensive line has underperformed the last 3 seasons. They haven't been very good.
Yeah, that I agree with. I think the development has not been quite
like their pass rush moves. I mean, Jack Sawyer started to come on a little bit at the end, but nobody else shows it. It's basically all bull rushes and basic. Mm-hmm. It's just not. It's not. They don't get to the quarterback, man. They don't create negative plays, and I don't know. They didn't rotate at all last season. Rotated too much in 2022. It's like they're too dumb to find the middle ground.
Some say that this is Knowles' defense, and that this is part of the reason that him and Johnson have kind of had friction is because Knowles is. This is one thing that's being said out there, is that Knowles wants the defensive ends basically coming straight up field. So he just wants that straight up the field kind of rush and, keep the edge. And
they don't keep the edge, though.
Well, I'm just saying, supposedly that is something that LJ and Knowles have kind of fought back and forth over.
I have no idea.
The ends have been boxed in more. Now, maybe JT and Sawyer are just not good, sack ends. I don't know. We'll find out this coming year.
I think Sawyer is starting to become that. It took him long enough. It took him about, almost 3 years to finally figure it out, but he's starting to figure something out. Tuimalou's been a bust, but
For
it is what
for
it is.
for Sawyer, I would consider 10 sacks like a really good season. I think he's capable of that this year.
Yeah, I think so too. We'll see. So now, since we didn't get the assistant defensive line coach, it's really appearing that James Laurinaitis is going to be elevated to the linebackers coach. And do I think he's going to be a good recruiter? I do, because they're, Tarvos Alford out of Florida, top 100, player in the country, long, athletic linebacker from the state of Florida is, I think Ohio State's in the lead for him. He's committing in late March. We'll see what happens. And even if he commits, like, he's a Florida kid, you're just in his top 3 there. Same with Naeem Alford. But it's just like, what do we know about James Laurinaitis? Okay, he was a solid college linebacker. He wasn't spectacular, and I don't care if he won the Buckets or not. I can name probably like 6 Ohio State linebackers that are all better than him. But that's not the point. The point is, we don't know who he is as a coach. So you're basically bringing in somebody with 0 coaching experience into a position where we've struggled, and we expect him to elevate that position.
Yep, absolutely. I don't want to give it a grade right now, Jay. I really don't. I just don't. We don't know if O'Brien, if there's really any merit to the Boston College talk. I hope there's not, but maybe there is. So that's a big factor. I just don't even feel like I can give it a grade right now, because I don't know quite how I feel about the coaching staff.
I don't feel very good about it. Not what they've done. Hell no. I mean, I love the Bill O'Brien hire, but we don't know if he's even going to. I mean, tomorrow, after this, in 24 hours after we film this, he could be at Boston College. And then, who did we get? But I don't know.
Nobody. The answer to that is nobody of any real significance.
Yeah, and this is Ryan Day's year to prove it, and he's failed bringing in big time coaches, massive failure. Now we're Justin Fry. I think he should have been fired. He's just been a terrible coach. We're still stuck with him. I found it funny. There was some rumor that Boston College, I don't know if it was actually happening, but there was a rumor that Boston College was going to explore hiring Justin Fry. And their fans absolutely freaked the fuck out.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, why would get this guy that has been an offensive line coach at Ohio State, and if you actually look at his resume, hasn't done anything impressive. Why would you want that as a head coach? I mean, but please be my guest.
The only fans who
leave O'Brien alone and take him. Take Fry.
Well, the only people who actually think Fry has done a good job are ignorant Ohio State fans, because everyone else knows that he sucks. All of the things we've said about Justin Fry, they brought up. He's a terrible recruiter, and he's not a very good coach. They wanted to stick very clear of him, which speaks volumes on the loyalty Ryan Day has for him. Why? I mean, I guess they're good friends. I mean, if I were really good friends with somebody, I would not hire them in a position as a football coach. There was this guy I knew back in the day. I haven't seen him in years. He made a really good point to me. He worked in the restaurant industry. And he said that he never hired his friends, Michael.
Yeah.
You know why?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, just all the complications and problems that come with that.
Yeah, because if he would have needed to fire them, then he's obviously lost their friendship.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you are so correct, man.
Yeah.
You are so correct.
Well, I think my take on it is, if I had a good friend in that situation, and I really believed in him, and I thought that he really was one of the best coaches, but he didn't really have a track record that said that. This is just my internal belief, because this is what we're assuming Ryan Day did. Is he felt like he was the best guy. He certainly didn't have that track record of being the best guy. He never proven he's the best offensive line coach. Mm-hmm. But Ryan Day's talking about what a great offensive line coach is. So if that's the case, I'm going to bring my friend in, and I'm not going to, after 1 year, make him the highest paid offensive line coach in the nation, while he is simultaneously proving to be an extremely mediocre to poor recruiter. I wouldn't have put my friend in that position. I would have kept him under the radar a bit, but he put him out there front and center. He made him the $1 million man, highest paid offensive line coach in the country. At least he was. I don't know if he still is at this time. And he hasn't produced like that.
I know he just got, I don't know if it was him, but Carter Lowe, offensive tackle from Toledo area.
Mm-hmm.
I don't consider that impressive, man. The guy is from Ohio. You listen to him talk, his entire family are Ohio State fans. He were going to Ohio State if a fucking fish were the offensive line coach.
Yeah.
Like, don't give me that bullshit that Justin Fry is like the guy who moved the needle here. No, the fuck he wasn't. The guy just loves Ohio State. His family loves Ohio State, and he wants to go play there. Justin Fry hasn't done jack shit with the kids who are borderline, because that's where you're like made as a recruiter. The kids that are like borderline. This kid wasn't borderline. He was all in from the beginning.
Here's the another thing, Jay, because I've heard people say about they will say about takes like we just had that we're diminishing the Ohio guys and we're not giving the Ohio guys proper respect, but that's not the case. When we have a 5-star in Ohio, I want 5 stars in Ohio. I mean, I want as many 5 stars in Ohio as Ohio can possibly produce.
Oh yeah.
But in recent years, there's only been so many 5 stars. I mean, we still have a decent amount of 5 stars and very high 4 stars, but there's only so many of them. And so an Ohio State coach has to be able to go and get a high 4-star or 5-star out of another state at times to really give himself a complete room and a complete class. And if they don't have the ability to do that, they're not the level of coach that you want at Ohio State. And Justin Fry hasn't shown that. So it's wonderful that we got this Ohio kid. But we're just telling you that at Ohio State, you can't just be able to get the Ohio kids that want to be Ohio State, no matter who's coaching.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you got to do better at out-of-state recruiting.
Yeah.
Man. Again, yeah, I mean, Ohio is like kind of a layup, like low-hanging fruit. I mean, I don't even know. It basically just falls into your lap kind of thing. That's beyond that's expected without even having to mention it. That goes without saying.
Because when you think of it this way, every year, out of all the kids who play football across the state of Ohio in high school, every year, there's about 7 or 8 spots, maybe 9 spots on a big year that are going to get Ohio State offers. Mm-hmm. Only 7 to 9 out of the entire state. And so when the kids are getting those offers these days, they're very, very, very rarely turning them down, and haven't been for quite a few years. Yeah.
How do you think Brian Hartline feels about becoming? I guess he was demoted too. In a perfect world, let's say Bill O'Brien stays. Mm-hmm. How do you think Brian Hartline feels about that?
Well, I mean, Zach Smith makes statements that he's an arrogant guy. I know some people say that's just Zach Smith having sour grapes. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But if he is an arrogant guy, then this is going to be very, very difficult for him. And it probably will be something that he won't be able to handle too much long term, and he'll probably go somewhere else. If he is able to humble himself and just realize that, it wasn't working out with him, an offensive coordinator, then maybe he'll be fine with it. But here's the thing. Ryan Day set him up to fail. Ryan Day did not set him up for success in the way that he handled the promotion and making him the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, no, you're probably right, man, because he didn't call the plays. He has no idea how to call plays. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure he understands the offense some, but I don't understand why you give somebody the title of offensive coordinator, but they have nothing to do with the offensive day-to-day game plan. It's just like,
It's
what are we doing here? That's just Ryan Day for you, man. You want to know why he's a failure? That's one of the reasons why.
Yep.
He's just, his entire program's just been kind of a joke, and
because it's all involved. Yeah. Everything runs around that offense. He cannot get his mind off that offense.
No.
And he cannot get himself to release that offense to anyone other than him.
Yeah. Let's talk about one coach on staff that I am glad that is, still here and doing well, and that's Tim Walton, man. You make an argument he's been the best assistant we've had.
Yeah.
Better than Brian Hartline, at least recruiting maybe. I mean, overall, but man, oh man, again, he's just landed. He just landed. Obviously, it was Bryce West and Aaron Scott in 2024. So, I mean, like I said before, getting Ohio guys is, not the most impressive thing, but that's, that, like I said before, it goes without saying. But, now he has Devin Sanchez, Naeem Alford. Now, granted, they're only commitments. I do believe Devin Sanchez is going to stick. Naeem Alford, I think it's, 60-40 he sticks versus leaves. But again, he did commit to Ohio State still, so I mean that does count for something.
Yeah.
And he's in on a lot of other big guys, and the guy is as a recruiter, he's been an A+, but he is the elite of elite. And the secondary, for the most part, has played pretty well. At least in 2023, it's played pretty well. 2022, they were pretty bad, but 2023, they've done. They were actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. So I don't really have anything to. I don't have anything to add to that. I think you covered it. You've thought about that more than I have, and I agree with your analysis on it there.
Yeah, I mean you got to keep him. I mean again, he's a Buckeye. Obviously he played for Ohio State and everything, but he's from Georgia, so he has that Georgia pool. He can go into the Southeast and get these kids.
Yeah.
And, he can speak to the experiences of playing at Ohio State, which is just priceless. That's priceless. Yeah. He can, again, he played at Ohio State in a much, longer, a lot farther back than any of these kids. I mean, Laurinaitis and Hartline are a little bit more modern, but at the same time, he's a coach here. He played here, but he's from Georgia, which is, Hartline and Laurinaitis are from the Midwest. He's from the Southeast, so it's different. They're Midwest kids trying to get these guys from the Southeast, but he is a Southeast guy trying to get these kids to Ohio State. So I mean, it's Michigan won the national championship. Say Ohio State can win a national championship this year. Say in the next year or two, Dan Lanning can figure out how to win a national championship at Oregon. All of a sudden, the Big Ten is now where kids are looking to. The Big Ten is where kids are like, oh, that's where the championships are being won. Mm-hmm. That's how the tide turns. That's how it began to happen with the SEC. And then it became much, much more difficult to keep talent out of those SEC schools. It kept much more difficult to pluck the talent out of there because they were winning the championships. And kids take note of that. And so I think this is also an important moment, not just for Ohio State, but I think this is an important season for the Big Ten to try and kind of really close that gap and, dare I say, maybe even overtake the SEC in the next 3 to 4 years. That'd be great. I don't know. I wouldn't hold my breath on that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, fingers crossed. Dan Lanning, he has to show me more as a coach before I can really be bought in there. He's a little too green there. But I don't have much else to add on the coaching staff. Do you, Michael?
Nope, not at all.
I would be remiss if I at least didn't have one little quick jab segment on Ohio State basketball. What a fucking clown show they are, man. They played on Friday night. They played against Iowa. I didn't really care. I just turned it on. And you know why I turned it on, Michael?
Why?
I turned it on because I wanted to laugh.
Well,
I wanted to laugh. I didn't even really want to watch basketball. I just wanted to laugh at the ineptitude.
I don't watch college basketball.
Right.
So you've got to fill me in. What is their record?
Ohio State basketball, I actually don't even know. I haven't followed. I mean, I have followed them, but I don't know their exact record as of now. But I can tell you this: you know whose record I did look up?
Who?
Was Texas A&M.
What are they?
I pulled up the podcast, and everybody who's been following us, I did bump up the podcast I had from a couple months back when I just absolutely dug deep into the Ohio State basketball program and said how much of a dumpster fire it was. They'd only played 2 games at the time, Michael, and I could not have been more right about everything I said. I could not have been more right. I said they're not going to make the NCAA tournament. They're not making the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Holtmann needs to be fired. Gene Smith is the biggest problem. All of those are still true, and I said that Texas A&M was not a good basketball team. They were trying to hype them up as some good basketball team. No, they are not. They are 13-8. They are not that effing good.
Yeah.
Ohio State's basketball record, now that I'm looking up, they are 13-9. So they're not going to make the tournament. They'll be lucky if they make the NIT.
That's pitiful.
So that's it. I just wanted to point and laugh, and just say that it's coming. I'm going to do a breakdown of Ohio State basketball. It'll probably just be me and
Chris
myself.
Holtmann has got to go. He's got to go.
No, I'm beyond Holtmann. Gene Smith's got to go. Gene Smith's the problem. Holtmann's not the problem. Gene Smith's the problem.
Well, Smith's gone. So now that Smith's
He's
gone,
still here right now, though. He's still like, kind of like Emperor Palpatine in the Star Wars universe, kind of lurking in the shadows.
How long is he there for?
He's here until July.
Holtmann might get another year.
He might. I mean, I hope not, but yeah, he might. I mean, it's going to be too late. I mean, I don't see him getting fired. I mean, he's probably going to get fired. No, I'm not going to say probably. I don't know. I would like to think he gets fired after the season, because Ross Bjork says to Gene Smith, like, hey, like Ross Bjork and the president go behind Gene Smith's back, or write to Gene Smith and tell him, like, hey, dude, time to fire this guy, and then we'll find a replacement.
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know.
That's exactly what should happen.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Gene Smith will just be a figurehead, and Ross Bjork will be doing all the stuff after March. We can hope, because Gene Smith has wrecked too many athletic. He's wrecked the money-making athletic programs.
I mean, the president and the board of trustees and the incoming AD, I don't know how they can work together, but they need to be making the decisions, and Gene needs to be told, this is what you're going to do. You are no longer running things.
Yeah, well, I think that's why Ohio State's starting to do a little better on the NIL front, because of exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything else, Michael. Do you?
Yep, that's it.
All right, great show, man. Great show. So
Sounds
hopefully everyone enjoys it, and have a great week.
All right, see you guys. We're out.